Hello fellow glue sniffers and sprue snippers, and welcome back to Blitzkrieg Modelworks. I'm Bob, you know me as Darkland on the forums. Hi everybody. Sorry it's been taking me so long to make another video. I've kind of lost my mojo for the last little while, plus being summer I haven't had a lot of time to work on things. But I have made a little bit of progress on both the Sturmpanther II and the Panther II early kits. Obviously the Sturmpanther II, I'm at the staging stage for the diorama. I picked up the mini art kit. There we go, the Soviet Limber. Just as a little bit of a space filler. Fantastic little kit. My first time I've done a mini art kit. Really nice. Like, the detail on this thing is just nuts. I took one of the wheels off and I actually put some lugs on there to replicate that it's been removed. The clothes peg is just there because it just happens to be at that height, the same height as the center part of the hub. So for me to get everything staged, it works out well. The Panther II is actually sitting on a couple of clothes pegs as well, because it sideways they just happen to be the same height as the hub of the wheels. So this is the footprint of the scene. I will be putting in a couple of figures in the vehicle. There'll be 3 or 4 German infantry on the streets and around. There'll be some rubble. I got to get the rubble in place before I can do the put the road wheels and suspension on, because I want it to be kind of articulated to that, and I can't glue everything together because of the side skirts are glued on, because I can't get the tracks on and can't do the painting and a bunch of other stuff. So until that's all done, I'm kind of at a standstill with the kit. But I'm working on the rest of the mini art diorama kit. Nothing's really glued down yet. It is actually quite a nice kit. The vacuform building was quite a challenge. This is only 4 pieces, and you have to line everything up. Sorry for the lighting, my lights don't come back quite far enough. There's a lot of file work to do to get everything to kind of line up half-assed. So I put in some putty here and there, use a triangular file to kind of carry the brick seam from one side to the other. Then I'll scuff it up with some Scotch-Brite pad and some 5/0 or 5/0 steel wool, and then smooth it over with some Tamiya white or Tamiya green cement. On the back side, not sure, this kind of looks a little dead. I might put a bunch more debris. I'm actually thinking, because there's a couple of openings for joists for this floor, of actually having a not a collapsed floor, but actually a partially built floor with a Russian sniper to a sniper team up top, kind of overlooking, trying not to be seen by all the Germans that are floating around. The base itself is actually rather flimsy. You see, it looks a little warped. That's partially because of the vacuum forming process, but also, if I get everything else off of here, as you can see, it's all kind of just falling apart. To stiffen it up, because it was really flimsy, I filled it full of a product called Lightweight Hydrocal. Stuff is put out by Woodland Scenics. You can find it in model railroad shops. And that's where it was picked up, in Edmonton, Alberta. There's a couple of places in Calgary. I'm in Red Deer. There's absolutely nobody in Red Deer that carries this stuff. There's no model railroad shops. And you just mix it up like plaster, pour it into place. I had to kind of level it out with whatever I could find for spacers, but it still didn't quite finish warping it out, or getting rid of the warping, so I'll have to glue it down and weight it. And then I'm still going to, one thing that I thought was unfortunate is, because of the vacuum forming process, these windows aren't straight across one side to the other, kind of angled so you can get them off the mold easier. That kind of precludes making these windows without a pane or something inside of them, because you will be able to see the seam. It looks really bizarre. Unfortunately, I wanted to have this in something like Stalingrad, or like anything you see in a lot of Russian wartime photos, you don't see a whole heck of a lot of windows in any of the buildings, not even frames. They're usually like blown and burned right out to nothing. So I'm gonna have to do something in there. The model itself, you guys have probably seen most of it already. I'm just gonna reset the camera up here so I can get in a little closer. Just bear with me for a sec. Okay, so the upper and lower hulls and the little armored box on the back and the turret are not glued together at all. Actually, the gun isn't even glued on. So I'll just take some of this stuff off so you can see what's going on. I probably showed you guys a lot of this stuff before. So the tool stowage, the side skirts. These are the stowage boxes on the back. Need to do a little bit of cleanup. Still, I used some of the photo etch in the Aber kit for the jack, but not the whole works because it was just nuts. I came up with a different looking muffler setup. Just trying to get it to kind of sit in half decently, and I've already done some weathering on it. This is some aluminum tubing that I had kicking around that I squished in a vise, and then I dremeled out the sides and tucked in some sheet styrene in the sides, and you can really see it once everything's in place. And then I soaked the whole assembly, all the tube is brass rod, and I soaked the whole assembly in muriatic acid, which eats away the aluminum tubing, doesn't hurt the brass. So I had to use some Mr. Surfacer 500 and stipple it on to get that looking okay. Sorry for the shakiness. I put track hangers on the sides. That's just wire. The wire is actually the track wire out of the Spade Ace track set that I'm going to be using for this. Again, some of the tools and the track hangers. I've got some bricks and some debris on order for some of the bigger debris, so until that gets here, this base is kind of at a standstill. Now I'll just quickly dodge off and set up again for the Panther F, the early version that I'm doing, which is pretty close to completion. So this is the early F with the Aber set. And the turret is, as I mentioned before, from Dragon's newer Panther F kit. Or sorry, did I say this was a Panther F? It's a Panther II early. I did turn this bit on a lathe that's a little choppy. I'll have to sand it to make it smooth because that's supposed to be a collar that kind of bolts the whole unit in. The gun is not bolted down. It comes right off pretty freely. There we go. Now I did not put any of the optics in any of the periscope housings because I want to have this vehicle like fairly factory fresh, getting a paint job. So I would presume that they would have removed the optics to be able to do that rather than trying to mask them in the field. And again, this is the Aber Panther II set, the really old one. And I haven't done the track hangers on here yet, but I will be doing that. I redid the cleaning kit mount with evergreen styrene. Come on, focus. There we go. Some of the tools. Now, I know photo etch scares the crap out of a lot of people. I like it. I'm not a big fan. I actually buggered these two latches up. They are actually upside down. The latches should be down, not up. They're actually, this side is correct. But realistically, if you're doing anything that has engine vents, I think a great way to get into photo etch is get the engine vent stuff, screen stuff, because this is really simple. This is a whopping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is actually 2 pieces. The little 6-pointed star underneath is actually a separate piece underneath. It's fairly inexpensive, and it's really easy to do. It's just a couple of little drops of super glue. You can use a toothpick, you know, if you don't have an applicator, and it looks way better than just leaving the darn things open. Like if we go to the Panther II Late kit that I'm working on, this is what you deal with from the factory, and it just doesn't, you know, ignore that part with photo etch, but that's what you get from the factory, and it looks pretty lame. And a lot of manufacturers don't give you anything, especially in the older kits, to cover these with, so they're wide open and they're not supposed to be. So for this guy, I've actually got a figure set. I'm using some tank figures, which didn't come in a tank box as far as I can tell, although it's been covered up with tape from B&A Model World. These guys are out of Australia. Only took a couple of weeks to get this stuff. Resin figures from Tank. I haven't even opened them. Really nicely done. You can tell even through the plastic, these guys are really nice. And these guys are actually, this gentleman actually has a nice little spray gun, and he's going to be doing the painting, and this guy's just wandering around with a broom sweeping, so that'll be pretty cool. Just a really simple vignette. I'm debating making a compressor to run the paint gun off of, because I know the vehicles themselves had an onboard air compressor that they could plumb the paint works into, so they could paint in the field if they needed to. So hopefully this one will be done fairly soon. I really have everything I need. A little bit of cleanup, a little bit more pee and whatnot, but really not a lot needs to be done for this other than the figures, and then the Sturmpanther. This little twin here, waiting for some groundwork. I'm kind of holding off on some of it at the moment. I haven't ordered the bricks and debris, primarily because there's going to be a big strike or a lockout here shortly. I'm waiting to see what happens. Hopefully within the next week it'll be a yes or no thing, so we'll see how far that goes. So anyway, thanks a lot for putting up with me not putting stuff out very often. Sorry. Being summertime, time is kind of limited, but I do try and build during the summer as well. Got a few plans for some other stuff. I do need to get some more photo etch for the Panther II Late, which is going to be a bit different than the early version. But hopefully I'll have that all done within the next month or so. So again, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in a little while. Bye-bye.